Hey, this is Janet LeBlanc with Paper and Spark, and today I'm going to walk you through how to figure out your total sales and your total numbers for a WooCommerce shop. So this is going to help you if you sell on WordPress and you use the free plugin or extension WooCommerce to sell your items. Now, I've had many people reach out to me who are existing Paper and Spark spreadsheet users who ask if I've got one that will import from WooCommerce, because I've got some that import from Etsy, from PayPal, Squarespace, etc., but I don't have a dedicated version for WooCommerce. I haven't made one because it's really simple to pull the information you need from the WooCommerce dashboard without really needing to download a CSV and import it into one of my spreadsheets. And also, unfortunately, unless you get some extra plugins, WooCommerce does not really provide any extensive CSV reports for us to base a spreadsheet off of anyway. But it doesn't really matter because we can figure out what we need pretty easily. So let's get started with walking through that process. So from your WordPress dashboard, you just want to click on WooCommerce right here and go to Reports. You'll have the report setting, even if you just have like the basic free WooCommerce. And clicking that will take you to this report dashboard where you can see your sales over different time periods. If you're using a Paper and Spark seller spreadsheet, you're probably doing your books on a monthly basis, maybe on the first of the month, looking back at the previous month. So I usually click on this last month button right here, and you can always use the custom date settings right here if you want to look for a different time period. Now you can export a CSV, but it's going to be really basic. It's not going to have a lot of the info that you might need or want to enter on your seller spreadsheet. And I usually just enter straight from here. So first things first, the most important thing is to carefully define the amounts that WooCommerce is telling you right here, because the terminology they use to me is frankly confusing. So let's see if we can distinguish the difference between some of these things and figure out what's important. First, we've got gross sales during this last month, and their definition of gross sales is after any refunds, so minus refunds, and including shipping received and sales tax collected. So in general, for tax and bookkeeping purposes, shipping that the customer pays you and sales tax that the customer pays you should be included in your gross sales. So this gross sales includes everything and takes your refunds into account too. So it's the number after subtracting out refunds. Next important number we've got is net sales during this period. Now, WooCommerce defines this as also being after taking any refunds into account and excluding shipping received and sales tax collected. So the difference between gross and net is shipping received and sales tax collected. This one includes shipping received and sales taxes, and this one doesn't. Next, we get our refunds separately stated right here, but you don't need to be tempted to subtract this number from either of your sales totals because this is already with refunds subtracted, okay? That's the confusing thing. It's already after any refunds are accounted for. Then we have your shipping received separately stated right here. Remember, that's included in gross sales, but not included in your net sales. And then you've got your coupons used right here, which doesn't really need to be recorded anywhere in your books. It's just here for informational purposes, but it's already taken into account when looking at your gross sales here. So let's say you want to enter this over on one of your Paper and Spark seller spreadsheets. In this example, I'm using the Etsy seller spreadsheet. Let's say you've got an Etsy shop and you also have your own WordPress site where you sell using WooCommerce. So you might want to rename one of these custom revenue rows to your site. I'm just going to call it WooCommerce for now. And let's say I'm looking at the month of January right here. Let's say that these stats are for the month of January. So I encourage you to enter sales here that are going to include sales tax collected and shipping collected, because for tax purposes, those two items are indeed part of your taxable revenue, right? Your gross revenue. but I would enter refunds separately. So you have a few choices. You can either break it out with like just your sales total here and your shipping stated separately, like I've got importing from Etsy, or you can enter it all together as one. But for ease of use, I'm gonna go ahead and enter in the gross sales number right here, which includes shipping. So in my example, if that were January, we would enter in 858763 as my gross sales, and that would include shipping, and that would include sales tax received. Now, if you wanted to break your shipping out separately, you could. Let's say that you want to rename this to the shipping that you make on your WooCommerce site. You could rename this to shipping made on your Etsy site. And in this case, you would enter whatever you have here, charged for shipping. Let's pretend that I have $100 right here charged for shipping. So I would enter $100 right there. Now the kicker is that this number, this gross sales, includes your shipping too. So you don't want to enter it twice. So if I theoretically had $100 showing up here, I'd want to subtract out 100 from this number. And you can do that with an easy formula. Make an equal sign, go first thing, and then no spaces, write minus 100. So now that would be my gross sales from Woo, including sales tax, but not including shipping. And I always think it's helpful to make these notes for yourself in the actual description of that line so you can remember, like, all right, I am including sales tax here, but I'm stating shipping separately. Now, one more point of confusion. What about refunds? If we want to separately state refunds, you've got to remember that this number is after any refunds. What that means is that I refund $85.50 in this month, and this amount is already subtracting the $85.50. I want to know my gross sales. It's really okay for you to have the net of refunded amount right here, but for tax purposes and for tying back to like your PayPal or your Stripe records or whatever, it's easier if you have the pre-refund number. So I have a refund amount that I need to enter. Refunds are always entered on our seller spreadsheets as negative numbers. So I'm going to enter that negative 85.50 right there, and that means I need to add back my 85.50 refund to my gross sales here. So now I've got this number, not including shipping received and before any refunds. That is how I can back into what my true gross sales without shipping were. The only other thing that you might want to do is track your sales tax numbers. I personally on my seller spreadsheet like to just enter in the monthly amount of sales tax I'm collecting on WooCommerce right down here. This area is importing automatically from Etsy for me. I'm going to just have a new separate row here where I can keep track of my Woo sales tax. If you try and type right here, you're going to get this read-only error message. We can easily unlock this tab by going to the review menu and clicking the sheet button. No passwords are required, and now I can add this in. So I'm going to make a row right here for WooCommerce sales tax collected. So now let's talk about where to go to actually find the sales tax number you collected. You can figure it out by doing a little bit of subtracting with the numbers right here, but the super easy way to do it is to just click on this taxes tab up top. And if you look at the same time period that you're working with, it's going to tell you the total sales tax amount that you collected. And then you can just enter that amount that report is showing you right here on the new line that you've created. And it's just nice to do that right here so that at the end of the quarter or the month or the year or however often you're filing your sales tax forms, you can quickly sum up not just your Etsy or whatever you're keeping track of up here, but your WooCommerce sales tax amounts as well. So that is how you can pretty easily figure out the sales totals, refunds, shipping received, and sales tax infos on a monthly basis to use in your Paper and Spark seller spreadsheet without having to export a CSV or do anything crazy. If you have any questions about how to use WooCommerce or how to use this with your Paper and Spark seller spreadsheet, you're welcome to comment here or shoot me an email. And you can find this handy little bookkeeping template spreadsheet at paperandspark.com. Thanks.